Chapter 1: The Superpower Defender. Report: Main City Connection. In the center of the city, surrounded by tall city walls, a spire stands, guarding this stone city in the apocalypse. This is the bedroom of the city guard, and also the observation deck of this stone city. There is only one room on the spire. At the top of the spire, the walls on all sides of the room are made of transparent bulletproof glass. At a glance, you can see all the scenes in the city and even outside the city. In the room, a woman in military uniform was sitting in a lounge chair in front of the window, basking in the sun and lazily looking at a certain point in the distance. This is the superpower defender of the last days. As the apocalypse approaches, the country urgently organizes experimenters to conduct experiments, develop drugs that can stimulate the human body's superpowers, stimulate people's superpowers, and make people have magical superpowers. However, not everyone can activate superpowers. In many cases, not even 1 person out of 100 will succeed. And those who managed to activate their powers after a narrow escape were assigned to various cities, with 1 person guarding 1 city. Come in. The woman heard the report of the soldier outside the door and opened her half-closed eyes. He stood up and walked to the desk with his long legs. I'm Yu Sheng. Please give me your instructions. Yu Sheng is the superpower defender of the city, the only female superpower among all the superpowers. He is also the only superpower defender who has activated 3 superpowers. I am Yu Zhongtian. Through the radio waves, a majestic voice came, calm and majestic that could not be ignored. Commander Yu. After Yu Sheng was stunned for a moment, he raised his hand and saluted the person on the other side of the phone. Well, I just received the news. Zhang Lin, the guard of the neighboring city you're guarding, encountered the Corpse King and was infected with corpse poison. Now he has lost his mind and attacked your city. The country hopes that you will capture him alive and give him to them to study medicine to resist the Corpse King. Yes. Yu Sheng took the order seriously and narrowed her eyes slightly to look in the direction of the neighboring city. In that direction, she could already see a large wave of zombies coming towards her. The leader is Zhang Lin, and the voice on the radio wave paused, as if he was trying to organize his words and how to speak. You said it. Yu Sheng's bright eyes stared closely at the approaching zombies in the distance. While activating the firepower to add a flame defense line to this stone city, he listened to the orders on the phone. My order is, Zhang Lin, no matter life or death. Just make sure you're safe. The majesty of the voice coming from the radio wave was still there, but there was just a touch of awkward stiffness. Okay, Dad. Yu Sheng moved his hands, and a smile flashed in his eyes. This old man is indeed as awkward as ever. After hearing the reply, the other end of the phone was silent for a second, and then hung up. This is the second time that this veteran military commander who has served the country his entire life has disobeyed the country's orders. The first time was at the beginning of the end of the world, when the children of various housekeepers were recruited to give priority to test the medicine to activate their abilities. He wanted to protect his only daughter from being experimented on. Putting down the phone, Yu Sheng packed up his combat uniform, opened the door, and went down from the tower. In order to facilitate unobstructed observation, even the door handles of this house are made of transparent glass. General. Under the tower, the captains of each squad of defenders were already waiting. What they can see from below is not as clear as from the tower, but they will know the news of the zombie siege the moment the flame defense line outside the city is ignited. Well, go up to the city wall. The city wall of Stone City was built urgently after the end of the world. Modeled after ancient city walls, soldiers can attack zombies under the city wall while standing on the wall. Although the city wall is an urgent project, its quality is not ambiguous at all. It has never been crossed by zombies in so long. On top of the city wall, Yu Sheng looked at the approaching zombies in the distance. The speed of the zombies is not slow at all. Just now it was a small dip in the distance from the tower, but now it is less than 200 meters away from the city wall. Chapter 2: Hit a Fish. Let them prepare for cover. There is a guard from the neighboring city here. I have to go out of the city to fight. Don't let those little zombies disturb me. The attack power of the zombies infected by the Zombie King is already very powerful, not to mention the Defender, who has special powers. Yu Sheng did not dare to look down upon it at all. Yes. The team captains were surprised. The guard of the neighboring city was captured? The shock was only for a moment, and he quickly responded and came over to give instructions for the following tasks. Yu Sheng stood on the city wall, watching the zombie army slide down the city wall along the hanging rope when it reached within 100 meters of the city wall. He faced Zhang Lin, the defender of the neighboring city, who had lost his mind. The two major defenders face each other. It is a rare showdown. The battle between the superpowers is very fierce. Because of the conflict between the 5 elements, it is difficult to determine the winner in most cases. But there will be exceptions. For example, Yu Sheng's 3 system abilities of Thunder, Fire, and Wood were an overwhelming victory against Zhang Lin's single system Water ability. Because of the laboratory's requirements, Yu Sheng did not directly execute Zhang Lin, but used the Thunder element to trap him, thinking about how to take him away and send him to the laboratory smoothly. After all, the Corpse King's corpse poison should not be underestimated. Without absolute certainty, Yu Sheng did not dare to capture him into the city. So, I was stuck outside the city trying to figure out a solution. Yu Sheng, who was thinking, did not notice Zhang Lin, who was surrounded and trapped by lightning. His dull eyes regained some clarity after several lightning strikes. Zhang Lin looked at the environment he was in blankly. After seeing the surrounding situation clearly, his eyes that had been infected and mutated flashed with a bit of sadness. He looked at the woman in front of him who was concentrating on thinking. He wanted to open his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. After several efforts, it was of no avail. Feeling that his remaining sanity was about to be eroded again, it was too late. Zhang Lin gritted his teeth and began to activate the superpower core in his body to self-destruct. He must do this in order to let more people live, and in order not to hurt more people. It's just that he can't open his mouth to remind the city guard in front of him to let her avoid it. He ran out of time and could only apologize for the sake of the overall situation. Yu Sheng, who was concentrating on a sound transportation policy, was shocked out of his wits by the explosion. Since he is here, it is impossible for the soldiers in the city to drop bombs near him. What's going on? When he looked up and saw a pair of apologetic eyes, he was led into the darkness by the momentum. The moment he lost consciousness, he realized that the explosion was the self-destruction of the superpower. Thinking of those apologetic eyes, Yu Sheng just wanted to curse. You want to blow yourself up and no one will stop you, but why the hell can't you tell her to retreat before you blow yourself up? She has never thought about dying for her country. World dividing line. On a small island in the middle of the endless sea, at the junction of the island and the sea, a mermaid with a basket-colored tail was lying on the beach basking in the sun, her tail hanging down in the seawater and lapping the water happily. Joan had enjoyed the rare free time and finally escaped from her brother's restraints. Naturally, she couldn't let it go to waste. She put her long white fingers on her head and squinted at the warm sun above through her fingers. The temperature was completely different from that of a seabed, which made him feel sleepy. His eyes were half opened and half closed, as blue as glass. Boom! A huge roar sounded out of thin air, startling Cheong An's hazy sleepiness. What's going on? Is it going to rain? Joan sat up and squinted at the sun above her head, which was still so bright. What is that? A red smoke exploded in the blazing sunlight. When the smoke dissipated, a black spot appeared, getting bigger and bigger, until the sun is covered. That something fell? Joan was startled, and it was too late to escape. The thing has fallen to the top of the head. Bang! A deep pit appeared on the beach, and the mermaid, who was enjoying the sun, sadly laid her bottom in the pit. Chapter 3. Almost drowned by a fish. Hiss, it really hurt. Joan pushed away the unknown object that hit her, rubbing the bones that were almost falling apart. Confused, he looked aside at the object that hit him. This is a flying orc? In his mind, Only flying orcs could move in the air, so the man who fell from the sky was naturally considered a flying orc. But which race of flying orcs can throw themselves out of the sky? It's not like he's hopelessly stupid. Xiaoman stepped forward and took a sniff. He couldn't tell what race it was, but there was a faint fragrance that made him a little addicted and wanted to explore deeper and more. He raised his hand to push away the hair that was covering the orc's face and wiped away the blood on his face. But she was so shocked that her fair and delicate little face was revealed. What a beautiful orc, even more beautiful than the people of their shark tribe. More importantly, is this a female? This discovery made Joan feel a little ecstatic. She immediately forgot about the pain of being smashed and her bones were falling apart and carefully picked up the female. Feeling her weak breathing, I realized that the little female seemed to be seriously injured. Thinking of the female in the family who got into such a serious fuss with just the slightest injury, would the little female not be able to survive after shedding so much blood? Thinking of this possibility, Joan began to panic inexplicably and hurriedly turned her tail into legs, carefully carried the female on her back, and crawled out of the pit. He had to go back quickly and find a clan doctor to treat the little female's injuries. He didn't want anything to happen to the little female. Climbing out, Xiong'an transferred the little female from her back to her arms and swam towards the depths of a sea as if she had a fish tail. But as soon as he got into the water, he noticed something was wrong. The little female in my arms, why is she blowing bubbles all the time? Still use your nose. Looking a little strangely, I found that the bubbles in the little female's nose seemed to be decreasing. Suddenly, I remembered that my brother once said that the orcs on land could not breathe under the sea, which would kill them. Joan was startled and immediately surfaced with the little female in her arms. The little female's face was already pale and there was no blood left, and her breath was much weaker than before. He actually injured the little female. Xiaoman was so anxious at sea. What should he do? He wanted to take the little female back to seek treatment from the clan doctor, but he couldn't take her into the sea. He didn't feel comfortable putting her on it. What is he going to do? Suddenly, a flash of inspiration occurred, and he remembered that the elders of the clan once said that the inner elixir of the sharks could help the orcs on land breathe and survive under the sea. He hurriedly spit out his inner elixir and hung it around the little female's neck, trying to get into the water again. Sure enough, he wasn't spitting bubbles anymore. After there was no problem of being unable to enter the water, Xiong'an directly held the little female and swam towards the tribe quickly. In the Blue-Tail Mermaid tribe, the mermaid leader Lan Sang planned to have lunch with his younger brother Qiong, and after finishing the tribe's affairs. However, before anyone could find him, he received news that Xiong'an had sneaked out again. I suddenly felt a headache and helpless, so I sent someone to find him. After turning the tribe inside and outside the sea upside down, we still couldn't find it. I knew this would be the result. Every time Joan ran away, no one would find her, and she would come back on her own after a certain time. But I was still uncontrollably worried, fearing that he would run off to land on a whim. They were about to send people to search further away, and they had to find out where Xiong'an was going every time he sneaked away. I received news that Joan was back. Lan Sang was a little surprised. It wasn't a time for him to come back yet. Why was it so early today? The shark who heard the report said that Xiong'an was going to find the clan doctor as soon as he came back. Lan Sang thought something had happened to him and rushed over. He also heard the report that Xiong'an had brought back an orc, but he was holding it in his arms and not letting anyone get close to him. Chapter 4, Hopeless. Orc. Lan Sang was surprised. Joan brought back an injured orc? Now he couldn't stay still any longer, and he felt relieved again because he knew it was not his brother who was injured. With a swipe of its tail, it swam far away and headed towards Joan's residence. The fact that an injured orc was brought back was a big deal, and he had to go see it. Xiaoman's residence is near Lan Sang, a cave dug out of a low undersea hill. The inside is supported by bubbles unique to the shark tribe to prevent sand from falling down due to erosion by the sea. There are seaweeds as tall as half a person on both sides of the cave, and a huge shell bed takes up nearly half of the area inside the cave. In one corner were piles of various colorful pearls and beautiful stones. There are countless luminous beads on both sides of the hole. At first glance, it looks like a dreamy princess room in a fairy tale. When Lan Sang arrived, the clan doctor had already arrived, and there was a group of orcs outside the cave looking curiously into the cave. They were all a little curious about the orc brought back by Joan. The cave doctor and a nervous-looking Cheom and gathered around the shell bed. The position above was blocked by two people, and he couldn't see the orc's face. It can only be seen that this orc is a little strange through the things he wears and the black things on his feet that cover his feet. This is an orc on land. The female was seriously injured, and a lot of seawater was poured into her. She is hopeless. The doctor of the shark tribe straightened up and sighed. Looking at the female on the shell bed, her sky blue eyes were filled with surprise and regret. This is the most beautiful female he has ever seen, even more beautiful than the females from their shark tribe. It's just a pity that the injury was too serious and he couldn't be saved. How is that possible? The little female has small wounds all over her body, and the blood on her body is not hers. How could she be so seriously injured? No, you must save her. I don't want her to die. Cheom and was a little excited and grabbed the clan doctor's shoulder and shook her violently. He couldn't refute that the little female had accidentally poured a lot of seawater into her body, but how could it be possible that the injury was too serious? The little female was wrapped in something that could not be removed, but he was sure that the little female was not seriously injured. Most of the blood stains on her body were not hers. There were only some very small wounds on her body. Even if the female was very fragile, it was impossible to save her. In fact, Yusheng did suffer serious injuries, but they were all internal injuries. He was wearing special soft armor and was not reduced to pieces by the superpower's self-explosion. However, the internal injuries caused by the impact were very serious. That's right, the poor little female who hit a fish and was almost drowned by it was Yusheng. Ahem, you please, go first. The clan doctor was so shaken that he began to roll his eyes and tightly held on to Joan's hand that was holding his shoulder. He was about to die. Cheong-un. Lan Sang asked Cheong-un to calm down, then stepped forward and pried his hand away, allowing the clan doctor to free himself. Ahem, cough. Chief, I'm going back first. Seeing Lan Sang, the clan doctor breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the leader is here, and he is still alive. He quickly asked to leave. The clan doctor ran away, and Cheong and didn't give chase. Sitting on the edge of the shell bed, he held the little female's hand and rubbed it gently. He had brought the little female back, and he would not give up on her as long as she was alive. Lan Sang didn't say anything when he saw Cheong-un sitting quietly. He was just a little curious about the orc he brought back. I just heard from the clan doctor that it was still a female. Following the hand held by Joan, his eyes were fixed on that charming little face. Wei Wei lost her mind. Could there really be such a beautiful female? Even more beautiful than the orcs from their shark tribe. Cheong-un, where did you bring this female back from? Although the female is beautiful, Lan Sang has not forgotten everything. Chapter 5. Wake Up. The females on the land are now extremely rare, and each one will be well protected by the tribe. It is impossible for them to be strayed outside. What's more, he was still injured and was picked up by Joan. Fallen from the sun. Joan recalled the scene when the little female appeared. A small black spot appeared on the sun. It was the little female, and it fell down and hit her. Falling on the sun? Lan Sang obviously didn't believe this answer. Although they are orcs under the sea, they also know some situations on land. How could there be orcs on the sun? Have you gone to land? No. I was just basking in the sun on a small island in the sea, and the little female fell from the sun and hit me. Flying orc. Lan Sang frowned. Even the flying orc couldn't bring the female out, and even made her fall from the sky. Didn't you see any other orcs? No. After saying that, Xiaomin didn't want to talk anymore and got up to get some water for the little female. When she passed by Lan Sang, she gave him a strange look. "Do you have anything else?" That expression and tone were clearly giving an order to be kicked out. "If it's okay, you should retreat immediately and don't keep staring at my little female." Lan Sang was depressed. He originally planned to ask him to have dinner with him, but now he was not in the mood at all. He turned around and left. When he got to the door, he looked back at the unconscious little female. If the female was really alone, no one was guarding her, then staying here is also a good thing for the tribe. What? Jonan saw her brother turning back to look at the little female he had brought back. He had seen his surprise when he saw it for the first time. With wide eyes, he realized that this was his own little female, and he would not share it with anyone else in the tribe, not even his own brother. Breathe in, breathe out. For the first time, Lan Sang didn't want to see the face of his biological brother, whom he had loved since childhood. He was so angry that he almost wanted to rush up and slap him to death with his tail. He turned around and left angrily, going to eat by himself. Ignore this heartless guy. After everyone left and he was left alone, Xiaomin glanced at the little female who was lying quietly with a faint breath, and her eyes were full of love. How could such a beautiful little female be so seriously injured? Where are your people? Why didn't I protect you? Since your tribe can't protect you, let me protect you. I will never let you get hurt again. So, little female, you must persist in surviving. John got up and got some water in. He couldn't untie the things the little female was wearing, and he didn't dare to pull them apart with force. The female was too fragile, let alone the seriously injured little female. He was afraid that he would accidentally hurt the little female again. But exposed hands and face must be washed. At this time, Yushum was completely unaware of the outside world and did not know that he was no longer in his original world. At that time, she realized that Zhonglin was about to self-destruct and knew that she could not escape, so she used all her spiritual energy to protect her heart, hoping that she could hold on, at least not die on the spot. With the soldiers on the city wall watching, she might be able to be saved. Facts have proved that she succeeded, protected her heart pulse, and did not die on the spot. But I never thought that she would no longer be in the original world, so the expected rescue is not done. Subconsciously, she was a little angry. They were a bunch of bastards, and she had to cure them when she woke up. Did she just give up treatment before she died? She had no choice but to save herself. Fortunately, she had the wood power. The most powerful function of the wood power was repair and healing. She carefully circulated the wood power through her body, repairing the internal injuries bit by bit. Just like this, the superpower is exhausted, and I adjust my breath to restore my superpower. I am repairing myself, adjusting my breath again, and repairing again. Chapter 6, Like a Fool. A month passed before he knew it, and the injuries in Yu Nanqing's body were finally repaired. Wake up! As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a pair of big eyes as blue as glass in front of him, with the tips of their noses facing each other, as if their breaths were entangled. Suddenly, his black eyes were half squinted. A sharp flash of light flashed across his face, and he raised his foot to kick away the person who was in front of him. Ouch! Xiaomin cried out in pain and fell to the ground hard. Her big glassy eyes looked pitifully at the little female sitting up on the shell bed. He really didn't expect the little female to be so strong, and she was kicked away without warning. He had been carefully taking care of the little female for so many days. When the little female was unconscious and unable to eat, he would smash the food she was eating and mix it with water for her to drink. However, the little female's body had not made any progress. Just when he was about to give up, he suddenly found that the little female's breathing had become much calmer, and her face began to turn rosy. Overjoyed, she took even more careful care of her, fully looking forward to the day when the little female would wake up. After feeding the little female breakfast today, I saw that the little female's eyes moved, as if she was about to wake up. She stopped going out to hunt for food for herself and just kept watching. After guarding for thousands of years, the little female finally woke up. Unexpectedly, the little female kicked herself away as soon as she opened her eyes, and she was so strong. At that moment, he sat on the ground aggrievedly, wanting to be comforted. But the little female he wanted to comfort him seemed to be frightened, sitting there staring at him blankly. Suddenly shocked, he didn't care about pretending to be aggrieved and nervously stepped forward. The little female had just woken up, and she didn't know whether the injuries on her body were healed. She didn't know if kicking herself like this would hurt her again. Little female, what's wrong with you? Are you injured again? Tell me, let me take a look, okay. Joan came forward, but did not dare to touch her, for fear that she might accidentally touch the unrecovered wound. At this moment, Yusheng couldn't recover from looking at the extremely handsome man in front of her. No, maybe this can't be called a man. When his eyes turned to the huge fish tail hanging on the ground, he felt like thunder was rolling in his mind, and he didn't know how to react. This is a mermaid. Oh, buy it. Mermaid. A living mermaid. Really a living mermaid? She's not dreaming. Secretly, he reached his hand to the side of his leg, pinched the flesh on his thigh, and twisted it hard. Hiss, it really hurts. Is this true? She's not dreaming. What the hell was she blown to? Did you see a mermaid? And this bed of shells and the pearls piled up in the corners. Are you sure this isn't a fairy tale? Yusheng's behavior frightened Xiong'an, who was beside her. She didn't care whether she would touch a wound or anything like that. She picked up the little female and swam towards a place where the clan doctor lived. Good girl, don't be afraid. I'll take you to see the clan doctor. He'll be there soon. Xiong'an and Yusheng flew by like a gust of wind and swam towards the clan doctor's residence. Yusheng, who had just come to his senses, was carried out of Xiong'an's cave. When he came outside full of seawater, he was startled. He didn't have time to hold his breath and thought he would choke a few times, but he found that he could breathe normally in the water. The surrounding scenery and the mermaids with long tails surprised her again. Since when have there been so many mermaids like Chinese cabbage? And they can all speak human words? By the way, can mermaids speak human language? In fairy tales, it is said that a mermaid and a prince fall in love, so they should be able to speak human words. Pal, pal, come and see if the little female has hurt her head. She suddenly seems stupid. Hurt your head? Looks like a fool. After hearing this description, Yusheng finally came to his senses and couldn't help but raise his hand and slap the mermaid on the head again. Chapter 7. You are very proud to put a girl's face against your body. Thinking about her, a demon king who wandered around the capital in the early days, a superpowered general who marched across the army in the apocalypse. When had she ever been described as stupid? Even if you are the mermaid, you will still be beaten. The slap came down, although it was not with full strength, but the force was not weak. The slap on the fish's head was like a light scratch. In addition to making a big sound, the other end was not even deflected, not to mention any harm. Yusheng was surprised and kept staring at his face. What structure? Diamond head? Be good, it's okay. I will always be with you. Don't be afraid. The little female's hand on the face didn't hurt very much. Joan only thought it was because the little female was afraid of the surrounding environment. After all, land females are not very familiar with the seabed. It is inevitable to feel hesitant and afraid. Mermaid, which of your eyes saw that I was afraid? Why will you always stay with me? Yusheng was speechless. Can you really act out a scene that looks like a fairy tale? As both sides stared, a mermaid came out of the cave in front of them. The skin is fair, and judging from the muscles of the exposed upper body, there is no vigorous sense of strength on the mermaid holding her, and the tail of the mermaid holding her is not firm and strong, and slightly elegant. Weak. The gentle-looking face was full of sleepiness, and he must have been woken up from his sleep. Joan, you haven't given up yet? I told you that the little female was too seriously injured to survive. I can't save her even if you ask me.